Lover or hater, Amy Pascal is definitely one of the most prolific women in Hollywood, and she has a reputation to boot. So today it was a bit of a shocker when we found out that she's leaving Sony and taking Pascal Pictures over to Universal with a first look deal. Now, what you have to remember about Amy Pascal is she was seriously demoted back in 2015 after she stepped down as a studio head of Sony following the hacks from North Korea over the interview. Now, that was a big deal because ultimately, at the end of the day, it got us Spider-Man in the MCU. So if there's one good thing that came out of that, it was the fact that we got Spider-Man in the MCU because it had revealed the conversations between Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige about the possibility of merging the two together following the, non-profitability of Spider-Man or Amazing Spider-Man 2, which, look, I still don't understand that. Over 700 million worldwide, you figured it would have done anyway. They had higher aspirations that even Spider-Man Homecoming with the smaller budget, in which made more money, still, I don't think lived up to expectations. So the question then becomes, why leave now? That's my big question. She's been at Sony for 30 years. 30 years she's been at Sony, and she's leaving to run with Universal's first look deal, saying that ending a 3-decade run at Sony Pictures, Amy Pascal is moving her Pascal Pictures into a first look deal with Universal. The deal comes at the end of the 4-year producing pact Pascal made with Sony in June of 2015 when she stepped down as chairman of the SPE Motion Picture Group after 20 years at the helm. And think about that for a second, right? She spent 20 years running Sony, arguably into the ground in some aspects. She really did. And she got busted because she made some really off-color comments in an email, and then the hacking embarrassment ultimately is what caused her head to roll. But in the process of leaving, in the process of stepping down to go take over Pascal Pictures and to do that full time, she orchestrated the deal with Kevin Feige. Now, I think based upon interviews with Kevin Feige talking about Amy Pascal, it has a lot to do with loyalty. He was her assistant on the first X-Men movie, I think, or he was her assistant for a while. He worked underneath her. She knew him really well. And so I think this is one of those moments where he helped out his mentor by working a deal to bring over Spider-Man into the MCU. And it's been a success. And also there was Venom, which was a success, surprisingly, and Into the Spider-Verse, which financially speaking, not really as much of a success as Venom, even though it did go on to gross or to earn an Academy Award for Best Picture or Best Animated Picture. Now, it goes on to say here that led by Universal Filmed Entertainment Group Chairman Donna Langley, the studio is making a substantial commitment to the next chapter of Pascal's career. In Pascal's most recent iteration as Sony-based producer, her credits include the Oscar-winning Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the Oscar-nominated The Post, and Molly's Game, as well as blockbusters Venom and Spider-Man Homecoming. Upcoming, which is Spider-Man Far From Home, and the Greta Gerwig-directed Little Women, which opens on Christmas Day. Now, this is where people are going to be very curious to know about, because there's been the speculation online. Does this mean that Pascal is done kind of controlling Spider-Man? Is she going to be putting aside the web and moving on to something else? And the answer to that is no, actually. Saying here, Pascal will continue to produce the sequels and is partnered. And this is partnered with Phil Lord and Chris Miller on the Spider-Verse universe spinoff for TV and an arsenal of projects she either acquired directly with Sony money or her discretionary fund. So like I said, the deal that Amy was able to make when she stepped down as the head of Sony was to basically take over Spider-Man's division for Sony. And she did it, and here's the thing, she did it well. I give her credit. She did it very, very, very well. But her own first look, her own produced films haven't done very well. She was the person who greenlit. I mean, we're talking greenlit Ghostbusters 2016 and then hounded down Paul Feig in order to get him to make the damn movie. So much so that his original pitch to her, the pitch that he sent via email that got leaked out during the 2014 hack, was proven to be the story of the movie. And when we were all laughing about that back then, that's what we saw on the screen 3 years ago. Which is just a hell we all have to live with. But the point is this. Pascal, and I've said this before, is an absolute survivor. She knows the industry inside and out and is a very hard person to take down. Those emails were damning. The hack was damning. The financial loss of Sony was damning, but not enough to keep her down because she was able to effectively crawl herself back out of the hole that she put herself in. And listen, I got to give credit to that. I do. I have to give major credit to that. Plus, there's a lot of loyalty in Hollywood, and a lot of people are definitely going to get her back. I have a feeling that if we went and looked into Donna Langley's history, the two have crossed paths more than once. But honestly, she was coming to the end of working with Sony, and Tom Rothman probably didn't want to renew the deal. He probably didn't want to renew Pascal Pictures' deal because she hasn't really produced a lot for Sony. That's gone on to make a lot of money. Yeah, she produced The Post, which was up for Best Picture, and it was a very good movie. And same with Molly's Game, but neither one was a massive moneymaker for Sony. In fact, Sony, because of Spider-Man, I think Spider-Man and what was it, Dark Tower 2017, and was a big loss for them. Spider-Man was a profit, but in 2016 they wrote down $980 million, and those are coming off of movies that were greenlit under Amy Pascal's leadership. So there's probably not a lot of faith there in her own personal projects. So she calls in some favors, and I'm speculating, of course, she calls in some favors. Donna Langley, speculation. He says, hey, listen, why don't we bring you over to Universal? Because Universal has its own set of franchises that that she could possibly produce on, because she is definitely a talent. And at the same time, it gives her the ability to bring her films to Universal, which it does very well. It does very well. And who knows, maybe this is the in. Maybe this is the in with Universal to bring over the Hulk to Marvel, to maybe work that deal, right? Isn't Namor owned by Universal as well? I know She-Hulk is. So, what if Amy Pascal is Kevin Feige's ringer? What if she is going over to Universal in order to talk to Donna Langley into brokering a deal with Marvel, saying, listen, $1.5 billion in less than in a week. All right, for Marvel, we know how much money they make. We know you've seen how much money we've made off of Venom. You know that there's a demand for this. You're just literally sitting on characters. People are demanding a Hulk standalone film again. People are wanting She-Hulk to make an appearance. For some reason, with the $1.14 billion made from Aquaman, people are saying, what about Namor? Let's get Namor up in this mofo. That could be what's going on here. And if that's the case, that is brilliant. Because like I said, Pascal is an absolute survivor. But the unfortunate thing is, though, with Pascal leaving Sony, Avi Arad is still there. So, sorry, Sony, you're stuck with him. In some aspects, we're all stuck with him. Oh, Avi Arad, the man who will never truly ever leave. Hey, thank you very much for making it to this point in the video. I really appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, you can always toss a like, or if you want to go a step further, why not check out patreon.com/MattJarbo, where you can support the channel directly. For just a few dollars a month, you get access to our private Discord and our private Facebook group, where we talk about movies 24/7, as well as a lot of new stuff coming throughout 2019. Thank you guys again very much. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.